Hey there, Royals fans, and welcome to the Crown Cast. You're tuned in to your go-to spot for all the latest news and updates and hot takes on our Kansas City Royals. This is a weekly 15-minute show available on Royals Keep, a website dedicated to the Kansas City Royals and part of the Diamond Centric Network. I'm glad to have you with me, and thanks for tuning in to this brand new podcast presented from the folks that brought you Crown Talk. My name is Kevin O'Brien. I'll be the host of this weekly podcast. You can find my coverage of the Royals at Royals Keep, Just Baseball, and Pitcher List, as well as the Crown Talk podcast with Jared Perkins of Just Baseball, who will be on at times for longer, more in-depth podcasts. Please follow me on my socials at Crown Talk KC on Twitter and royalreportkev.bluesky.social. What a week it's been, Royals fans, especially for those who enjoy the powder blue and white. This has been a good offseason. We've seen some big moves since the winter meetings, which have made the Royals roster for 2026 a little clearer. That said, I don't think we're done by any means just yet. There likely will be more moves to go, so we will look at what else the Royals will have to do before pitchers and catchers report in February. So, if you're a fan of alcoholic beverages, grab your favorite beverage. If you're in your car, make sure you're still driving so you're staying safe on the road. Whatever you're listening to this or watching this, just kick back and relax, and let's get into it with our recap for this week. So, as you can see, the Royals' offseason was to get better, especially after on the offensive end, after finishing 82-80 and missing the postseason last year. And thankfully, as Royals fans, Royals GM J.J. Picollo has not sat on his hands this offseason. This week has been a prime example of him living up to his word about being aggressive, being transactional this offseason. So let's look at a few of the moves that are listed, shown right here on our top Royals stories for the week. First big move this week was Lane Thomas, outfielder Lane Thomas, signing to a one-year, $5.2 million deal. Now, for those that just look at the basic stats, it wasn't a good year for Lane Thomas last year. Only played in 39 games due to numerous injuries, which included plantar fasciitis on his foot. And his metrics, 48 WRC plus, minus 0.5 FWAR. You might be saying, is that better than MJ Melendez? Is that better than Drew Waters? Probably not. But if you look at what he did in 2024, 99 WRC plus, 1.4 FWAR, that's a lot better. That's exactly what you want for a semi-regular fourth outfielder, which I think is what Lane Thomas is. He's questionable defensively. He wasn't good last year, but though I think the injuries were part of that. And before that, in 2024, wasn't good. But he's a lefty masher. 135 WRC plus career against lefties. And this Royals outfield lacked right-handed bats. So Lane Thomas fits the bill in that end. Now, we will probably see Lane Thomas rotate around the outfield. He can play three positions in the outfield, left, center, and right. That's something the Royals haven't had. So he could play himself into a regular role in 2023, 2024, if he's healthy and if he can get back to where he was back in his Nationals days. So that's our first story. Our second story of the week, extension for Maikel Garcia. J.J. Picollo was not very forward in terms of saying, hey, I'm going to give an extension this offseason. He said we don't know where we're at. Well, J.J. Picollo is in Dayton Moore. He plays a close poker hand. And guess what? He made a great move in signing Maikel Garcia to a 5-year extension that's going to keep him under team control until at least 2030. That solidifies him, our left side of the infield, with Bobby Witt Jr. until that time as well, since Bobby Witt can opt out of his deal in 2030. This was a fantastic move. Maikel Garcia, 121 WRC plus, 5.6 FWAR, and 606 plate appearances. Again, we're not in the Dayton Moore era because Dayton would have said, make sure that plate appearance number is not that number. But he also had a career high in home runs, 16, RBI, 74. He also stole 23 bases, won his first Gold Glove, and made his first All-Star team. What a move. It's locking down the future of this Kansas City Royals infield. This deal will guarantee him at least $57.5 million over the next 5 years. It's going to be exciting times in Kansas City with Maikel and Bobby on that left side of the infield. Some minor moves. We saw Kevin Newman and Jose Cuas sign minor league deals this week. Yeah, you might say, hey, is that a big deal? And really, it's probably not. But Newman's a utility player who played with the Angels last year. Bad numbers, 27 WRC plus as a backup, but he was much better in 2024, 89 WRC plus, 1.4 FWAR. He could be the utility infielder who could move around, and that could replace Adam Frazier, and Kevin Newman's going to be a lot cheaper than Adam Frazier. And Kevin Newman's a right-handed bat, which is what this Royals bench needs. So pay attention to him in spring trading. Jose Cuas, I'll be honest, this is minor league depth. Probably not going to pitch at the major league level, but he has pitched before the majors. He was a key part of that trade for Nelson Velasquez in 2023, and that was a fun era for Nelson Velasquez for Royals fans. I miss him. I miss 2023 Nelson Velasquez. So at least Jose Cuas gave us that. Big thing is he's going to help the Omaha bullpen. The Storm Chasers were the second worst pitching staff by ERA in the International League. I think he's going to help that out a little bit. But let's talk about the big move this week. Isaac Collins and Nick Mears for Angel Zerpa. Both sides are really going back and forth with this. If you look at some Brewers fans, they're saying, oh, we got to steal for Angel Zerpa. If you look at Royals fans, we got to steal for Angel Zerpa. So I guess it's really depends on where you fall. Isaac Collins and Nick Mears satisfy some really key needs that the Royals had this offseason. First off, let's talk about Collins. He helps the Royals outfield tremendously. Excellent plate approach, 0.61 walk to K ratio, 122 WRC plus last year, also hit 9 home runs and stole 16 bases. Now, we know about his regression at the end of the year. He wasn't a part of this team in the playoffs as heavily. He's an older rookie at 28 years old. But this guy is a heck of a lot better than what they were trying. Now, this is better. He is better than Drew Waters. He is better than MJ Melendez. You know, he is better than John Rave. He's better than Tyler Tolbert. This is a big move. And he might not be an everyday player, but at the very least, he's going to be a favorite for regular at-bats at left field. As for Mears, he helps out with the Royals' bullpen strikeout problem. Last year, the Royals ranked 29th in K per 9 as a bullpen. That's not a good rate. And yes, the Royals were much better than they were in 2024, but that's not sustainable. The K rate wasn't as great for Mears, saw a slight regression, but he generates chase, he generates CSW, 37.3 O swing, 28% CSW last year with the Brewers. Okay, he also has a power slider that generated around 44% whiff. So you got to like it about Nick Mears on his profile on that end. Now, fastball needs some work, as it didn't generate a whole lot of whiffs. It gave up a lot of contact, but I like his profile. It feels very similar to James MacArthur. And I like that this new pitching coaching staff with Mike McFerrin as well as Brian Sweeney, I think they can work with him and really get the most out of Mears. And Zerpa, nice piece. I felt he was expendable, especially since he didn't really lock down a setup spot as he probably should have. You know, a 3.86 FIP, 2.64 walk to K ratio. But you know what? I get it. Brewers fans are optimistic. If you read Jack Stern from Brewers Fanatic, which is also part of the Diamond Centric Network, he's more positive on Zerpa. And you know what? If that's what happens, kudos to Zerpa and the Brewers. But I think from a Royals end, you got to like Collins and Mears as the return here. Now, just because the Royals have made moves doesn't mean they're done improving this roster by any means. There's a couple players that Royals fans should be keeping an eye on this week. And we're already hearing some news about it today. First player, Jarren Duran. Now, Jarren Duran has long been rumored as a possible fit in Kansas City. The Royals were in on him last year at the trade deadline before they moved on to Mike Yastrzemski. The stats are good. 16 home runs, 24 stolen bases, 111 WRC plus, 3.9 FWAR last year. He would solve a lot of problems for this Royals outfielder. He would make this Royals team not just a playoff contender, but a team that could be a dark horse in the American League. Now, the problem is what is it going to take to acquire Jarren Duran? Ken Rosenthal reporting today that the Boston Red Sox are not accepting anything less than Cole Ragans. I don't think the Royals want to trade Cole Ragans. Does Cole Ragans have some injury issues? Yes, he had shoulder issues last year that put him out for most of the year. But Cole Ragans is still an ace. 4th in the AL Cy Young voting last year. He's projected by Steamer for about 3.9 FWAR. I don't think you're going to give up Ragans for Duran straight up. So it'll be interesting to see if they can work out a deal. The next one that I'm kind of interested in, there's not a lot of talk about, is Anthony Santander. Santander just signed a mega deal with the Blue Jays last year, but he was terrible last year. 61 WRC plus, minus 0.9 FWAR in 54 games. Now, you might say, well, Kevin, they just signed Anthony Santander. He was hurt. I'm sure they're going to give him some patience. But one of the biggest rumors that we're hearing out this offseason is Kyle Tucker in Toronto. The Blue Jays want to go to a World Series. They want to win a World Series again. They were so close, 1 out away from winning a World Series last year. So they're going all in. And this Blue Jays team proved last year that they could win without Anthony Santander. The Royals were interested in Anthony Santander as a free agent before the Blue Jays came in and offered 1 more year. So I think the interest is still there for Kansas City. I think they could get him for a decent price. I think Chris Bubich and maybe something else could get them Anthony Santander. But he's a guy to watch out for this offseason. If Duran doesn't work out, don't be surprised if you hear Santander's name as a possible option, especially if the Royals or the Blue Jays, sign Kyle Tucker. So keep an eye on that. Okay. Now, again, we'll keep anybody posted on possible moves. If there's one thing that the Royals like to do is they like to make a lot of moves and set their roster before Christmas. Is this it? I don't know. But we'll talk about a couple more free agents targets next week. But I don't think this is it. I don't think these 3 moves are it. You're going to see a lot more from JJ Picollo. All right, before we wrap up, I want to give out a shout out to all of you for tuning in. Please feel free to shoot me any questions via comments or on social media, and I'll answer them in our episode next week. I will make sure to answer at least 2 to 3 questions in next week's show. So here's my time for my final thoughts. The Royals got better this past week since the winter meetings. And I think that we're seeing that JJ Picollo is probably one of the more underrated general managers in Major League Baseball. All right? He doesn't have the big market money of New York or Boston, but he's getting things done. Okay? So he's making the smart moves, the innovative moves that good small market teams make. Teams like the Brewers, teams like the Rays, teams like the Guardians. He's adding depth, but in a way that keeps their options open for bigger moves this offseason. That's the nice thing about getting Collins. That's the nice thing about getting Thomas. That's the nice thing about getting Mears. They're good moves, but that's not like, Royals can't do anything more. That's it. So JJ's setting them up for a very good offseason. And even if it's only one more nominal move, he's also setting them up for a big trade deadline. But the Royals are getting better. They've gotten better on the outfield. And I think as Royals fans, we got to be excited about that. Now, that's all the time we have for this debut solo edition of the Crowncast. A huge thank you for joining me. As I've said before, you can find me on Twitter at CrownTalk_KC. Again, I've changed my Twitter because, as we know, not the best standards now since who took over. So, but you can follow me at CrownTalkKC. My preference is at Blue Sky at royalreportkev.bluesky.social. So you can make sure to don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification. So and so you can see our next episode. So until next time, stay savvy, Kansas City, and let's go Royals.